Okay, so just imagine for a moment you're confined to this desolate cliff for a year, just solitary contemplation.
Right. Sounds pretty intense.
You'd think the challenges would be like the weather or just being alone.
Makes sense.
But what if the real struggle comes from, well, from inside your own school, your own head? And weirdly enough, from this infamous villain who just shows up.
Okay. That's unexpected.
What truths might bubble up when you're forced to face all that? Yourself, your beliefs, everything.
That's a great hook.
So today, we're really doing a deep dive. We're jumping into the Wuxia novel, The Smiling Proud Wanderer. You know, martial arts heroes, amazing powers, all that good stuff.
Love this genre.
We're zeroing in on Chapter 9. It's called Invitation and Deception. And the source material here, wow, it's rich. We're talking internal martial arts philosophy, surprising character turns, and this really high-stakes game of wits.
Yeah, it's a packed chapter. Yeah. So our mission basically is to pull out the key insights from Ling Hu Chong's time on the Cliff of Contemplation. Pretty rough time for him.
Definitely.
We'll unpack the complicated stuff within the Huashan Sword School, look at what power really means in their world, and, follow these twists of loyalty and deception.
And by the end, you'll get how a simple punishment can actually blow the lid off a school's biggest secrets. Why following the so-called righteous path might be, well, way more dangerous than it looks.
Right, and how even a notorious bad guy, maybe he's got his own reasons you wouldn't expect.
Okay, let's get into it. So the scene opens, Ling Hu Chong's on this cliff of contemplation. He looks rough, thin, pale.
Yeah, not doing well physically. And this cliff, it's not a retreat. It's serious punishment territory in the martial world. Isolation is the point.
Totally. The rules are super strict. No visitors, not even like junior classmates bringing food.
No contact.
Yet, who shows up? His master, Yu Bukwan, and his master wife, Madame Yu. They just leap onto the cliff. Amazing Qinggong skills, of course. That light-footed movement.
Yeah, quite the entrance. And they bring ginseng soup, which, seems like a caring gesture.
Seems like.
But then, almost immediately, Master Yu checks Ling Hu Chong's pulse, and the whole mood just plummets. He is instantly displeased.
Why? What's wrong with the pulse?
He says it's slick and speedy. Now, in Wuxi terms, that's bad news. It means his inner energy level actually slipped back quite a bit.
Oh. So during this time meant for intense focus, he's actually gotten weaker internally.
Exactly. A huge red flag for their kind of training. It suggests he hasn't been making progress, maybe even going backwards.
And Master Yu Bukwan, he doesn't hold back, does he?
Not at all. He pins the blame squarely on Ling Hu Chong not being able to control his emotions and desires. Sees it as this major roadblock for advanced Qigong practice, cultivating that vital internal energy.
Right, he is everything in their branch.
He clearly expected huge progress up there. Leaps and bounds, the text says, in Qigong, in sword skills. This whole punishment wasn't just about healing physically. It was supposed to be this intensive boot camp for his spirit in martial arts.
And this is where Ling Hu Chong really shows his youth. His priorities. Madame Yu gives him some advice.
Yeah, she subtly tells him to practice hard, says it'll affect his entire future life. Pretty weighty stuff.
So what does Ling Hu Chong hear?
He immediately starts thinking about getting married to Yu Lingshan. He convinces himself that's the secret meeting, the criteria for them getting together.
Wow. Okay, so his mind is just completely somewhere else.
Totally. It really shows how his personal desires, love, connection, are just overriding the whole point of his training, the whole reason he's up there. He's not focused on the martial path his master wants.
And you see that disconnect again, right? When he's asked to demonstrate a sword move.
Oh, yeah. That's telling. Master Yu asks him to show unrivaled and unmatched the thrust of Ning. It's a move Madame Yu herself taught him, a respected Huashan technique.
And Ling Hu Chong, he balks.
He hesitates, big time. Because remember, he found those drawings in that hidden cave back there.
Right, the ones that showed how to defeat various sword styles.
Exactly. And those drawings have convinced him that each and every sword move of the Huashan Sword School could be defeated, including this one. He genuinely thinks performing it would just lead to a crushing defeat.
So he's already questioning the core teachings.
He absolutely is. It's this huge early sign that he's absorbing knowledge that directly contradicts everything he's been taught, everything his school stands for. It foreshadows this massive conflict brewing, doesn't it? He's already started down a different path, even if he doesn't fully get it yet.
And speaking of conflict, just as Ling Hu Chong is dealing with all this internal stuff, Master Yu decides it's time. Time to reveal a massive secret.
the big one. The secret about the Huashan Sword School's past. Something that, as he says, turned the entire Huashan Sword School upside down.
Okay, lay it on us. What's the secret history?
It's the huge split. The schism between the Chai branch and the Sword branch within their own school.
The classic internal struggle.
Exactly. So you got the Qi branch, which is Yu Buquan's side. Their whole thing is inner energy is king. Qi Gong first. Get your internal power sorted, then worry about weapons.
Inner energy is the driving force.
Right. They have that saying, once the head rope of a fishing net is pulled up, all its meshes open. Basically, master the core energy, and the techniques will follow.
And the other side, the sword branch.
They believe the opposite. For them, sword skills were everything. They argued that if your technique was good enough, truly masterful, you could beat anyone, even if your inner energy was just average.
It's that age-old debate, isn't it? Power versus technique.
Definitely. And it makes you think, right, for anyone listening, how often do these kinds of deep philosophical splits happen inside organizations, where internal arguments become way more important than the actual goal, especially in a group that's supposed to be united, like a martial arts school?
And in Huashan, this wasn't just a debate, it got ugly.
Oh, incredibly ugly. Yu Buquan talks about the big sword contest on the Jade Maiden Peak. Happened about 25, 30 years before.
What went down?
It was basically an internal war. He says over 20 elite senior masters got killed. Just wiped out.
20 masters, that's devastating for a school.
Huge loss. And most of the sword branch survivors who didn't die in the fighting, they took their own lives with their own swords.
Good grief.
And the few others just vanished, withdrew from society. So the sword branch was essentially annihilated or scattered.
What did that do to the school's reputation?
Crushed it. Huashan's fame was damaged dramatically. And that power vacuum, that's when the Songshan Sword School stepped up and took the Alliance Chief title among the 5 mountain schools. Huashan lost its top spot because of this internal bloodbath.
So these are deep, deep wounds.
Absolutely. And for Yu Buquan, it's personal too. He shows Ling Huchong this 2-feet-long scar on his chest.
Seriously?
Yeah. Says he almost died. Got it from one of his own uncle masters during that conflict. It's not ancient history for him. It's literally etched on his body.
And they covered it all up.
Completely. Told the outside world a plague suddenly broke out. A total fabrication to hide the internal weakness, the shame of it all.
Wow. The politics are brutal.
And then Yu Buquan brings it right back to Ling Huchong. He warns him, basically saying, your current thinking that sword skill matters more than inner energy. That's the sword branch heresy. It will destroy you, and it will destroy what's left of this school.
He really lays it out.
He does, says point blank. A harsher punishment would be to take your life, and a lighter punishment would be to destroy all the kung fu you have and banish you out of our school once and for all. The stakes could not be higher.
And then comes the demonstration, the power move.
Oh, yeah. To hammer it home, Yu Buquan just flicks his left sleeve, and Lu Deyu's sword jumps right out of his sheath. Pure inner energy.
Just from a sleeve flick.
Just from the force. Then he flicks his right sleeve, and the sword snaps. Clean in half. Midair.
Okay, that's terrifying power.
It's meant to be. It's a brutal display of the magnificent powers of his divine art of Violet Twilight. A very clear message. This is Qi branch power. Yeah. This is what truly matters. Don't mess with it. Leaves everyone, especially Ling Huchong, totally stunned.
So Ling Huchong's world has just been completely rocked. His school's history is bloody. His master is terrifyingly powerful. And then things get even weirder.
Right. Because then Tian Boguang shows up.
Yeah.
The 10,000 miles loner.
The infamous villain.
Yeah.
Known for, well, crimes after crimes.
Exactly. Not the kind of person you expect to pop up on a punishment cliff.
And he doesn't come empty-handed.
No. He brings wine. 2 jars of this incredibly old, 130-year-old mellow wine. Apparently from some famous place in Chang'an.
Okay, wait.
It's a good stranger. He boasts about smashing like 200 or so other jars just to make these 2 seem more valuable. It's a weird flex for a villain, right?
Very weird. Is it just bravado?
Well, there's definitely bravado, but there's calculation too. He eventually confesses something quite strategic. He says he committed a bunch of crimes over in northern Shaanxi and eastern Shaanxi.
Okay.
But he did it deliberately to divert my master and master wife away. Your master and master wife, Yu Buquan and Madame Yu. He used the strategy of luring the enemy away from the base.
He tricked them so he could get to Ling Huchong alone.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Pretty clever for someone often painted as just a brute.
And this changes how Ling Huchong sees him, doesn't it?
It really does. Despite knowing Tian does terrible things, Ling Hu Chang starts to see him as strangely upright. Someone who, despite being bad, would disdain to stab anyone on the back.
So a villain with a weird sort of code.
Maybe. Or maybe Ling Hu Chang is just grasping for honesty anywhere he can find it after his master's revelations. It sets up this really complex dynamic between them, and then they make a bet.
The knife moves. Right.
Yeah, Tian Guang says, look, fend off 30 of my knife moves, and I'll leave you alone.
High stakes for Ling Hu Chang. How does he handle it?
He uses the cave. He starts applying those techniques he learned from the drawings. Those unpredictable and weird variation techniques. Stuff from Hengshan, Songshan. Even moves designed to break the standard Five Mountain styles.
So he's actively using the forbidden knowledge.
He is, but he struggles at first. He realizes he's too focused on counting the first move, the second move. It makes his sword skill only half good.
Ah, the classic overthinking problem.
Totally. But then he has this breakthrough. He just lets go of the counting, stops analyzing, starts reacting, flowing, and boom, he gets much better.
A little lesson in mastery there, letting go.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to unlearn to really learn.
But Tian Bogwang, he's not just there for a friendly sparring match and some old wine. There's a darker reason.
Oh, yeah, the biggest twist. He finally reveals why he really came. He shows Ling Hu Chang these red spots as big as a coin right below his two nipples.
What are those?
He explains, sealed my death points here. You know, those critical pressure points. And worse, they planted strong poison in my body.
Poisoned and pressure point sealed. Who did that?
He doesn't say who, but he says why. He's being forced. Forced to bring Ling Hu Chang to someone called Little Sister Yilin.
Forced? How?
If he fails. If he doesn't deliver Ling Hu Chang, the poison activates. His body will literally decompose, and he'll die horribly in exactly 3 years and 6 months.
Oh my God. So Tian Bogwang, the villain, he's actually a victim here. A pawn.
Pretty much. He's acting under this terrifying duress, a death sentence hanging over him. Just completely flips the script, doesn't it?
Totally. The feared outlaw is actually trapped.
And it really highlights that theme in Wuxia, you know. Even the tough guys, the famous fighters, they can be manipulated. Controlled by hidden powers, old debts, secret poisons. Makes you wonder who's really pulling the strings.
Ling Hu Chang must be reeling from this. What does he do?
He tries to bluff his way out.
Yeah.
Tries to stop Tian Bogwang from going into that cave where the drawings are. He pretends he's guarding secret kung fu manuscripts. Hints about booby traps or ambush.
Trying to scare him off. Does it work?
Not really. Tian Bogwang is desperate, remember? But he's curious. He demands to know who taught Ling Hu Chang these new amazing moves he used during their fight.
And Ling Hu Chang invents someone?
Brilliantly. He makes up 11 senior grandmasters from all different schools. And crucially, he includes the name Grand Uncle Master Feng Qingyang.
Feng Qingyang, the legendary Huashan master, the one everyone thinks is dead or gone.
The very one. He uses the name carved in the cave. He picks 11 masters, specifically because it sounds more believable than just one, especially to someone cautious like Tian Bogwang, who has lots of enemies.
Smart. Does Tian buy it?
It's a double bluff. Ling Hu Chang even tries to make it seem less believable by admitting, look, there really isn't any elite senior grandmaster left in the Huashan sword school. He thinks saying that will convince Tian it's all a lie. But Tian Bogwang thinks the opposite. He figures Ling Hu Chang would only admit such weakness if he were hiding something even bigger. So Ling Hu Chang's attempt to lie by telling a partial truth actually makes Tian believe the lie.
Huh. That's some serious mind games.
Isn't it? But just as Ling Hu Chang is still trying to figure out how to get rid of Tian Bogwang, convinced his bluff about Feng Qingyang worked.
What happens?
A cold voice suddenly rose from behind his back.
No.
Oh, yes. And the voice says, if I had really given him some pointers, you don't think he can even take care of a chap like you? I doubt that.
It's him. It's actually Feng Qingyang.
It is. The legendary master, the name Ling Hu Chang, just pulled out of thin air as a bluff the guy whose name is carved on the walls.
Yeah.
He's been there, listening, the whole time.
Wow. Just wow. What a reveal.
The ultimate aha moment. The master everyone thought was gone is real, and he's right there. Everything just got way more complicated and potentially way more interesting for Ling Hu Chang.
Okay, so that was quite the journey. A real deep dive into hidden fights, personal demons, and alliances you just wouldn't predict.
Absolutely. We saw Ling Hu Chang navigating this incredibly tricky path. Not just physically tricky, but morally, philosophically. His whole world got turned upside down multiple times.
Yeah, it really makes you question what righteous even means in this context, doesn't it?
It totally does.
Yeah.
And it shows how sticking rigidly to some doctrine, some old way of thinking, like the key branch versus sword branch thing, can actually be way more destructive than any enemy outside the gates.
True.
And that real skill, real understanding, maybe it comes from unexpected places, from forbidden knowledge in a cave, or even from a conversation with a poisoned villain.
And sometimes the person you least suspect, a hidden master, or, yeah, an infamous bad guy under duress, holds the key to some deeper truth, even if it's an uncomfortable one.
Exactly.
So, thinking about all this, what really jumps out at you? Maybe it's that idea that sometimes the toughest times, the punishments, are where you actually learn the most.
That's definitely a big one. Or maybe it's just the complexity of people. Even the villains aren't always just villains, you know?
Yeah.
They're driven by things we don't see. Fear, coercion,
Yeah, hidden motivations everywhere.
which leaves us with a pretty interesting question, I think. In our own world, with so much information, so many different voices telling us what's true, where do you actually place your trust?
Good question.
Is it in the established rules, your own gut feeling? Or do you listen for that surprising wisdom that might come from somewhere totally unexpected and maybe the hardest part?
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference between real insight and just clever words? Or an old idea that's long past its sell-by date?